You want to get high, man?
Let's stimulate your mind.
Get up, Chucky!
What have we got here? A fucking comedian.
Rojan Kim?
California dreaming.
Hello, and welcome to the Rojan Kim cast. It's me, Rojan Kim. Thank you so much for joining me on this Wednesday, April 1st, 2020, 4-1-2-0-2-0. April Fool's Day. April Fools. What if we found out that this whole thing was a giant trick, just a funny trick that the president was playing on it? Imagine if Trump had that much power. He could just be like, it was my idea of the pandemic. It was the best pandemic. I wanted to show that I could outdo China. I don't have anything there. I'm not going to do like a extended Trump knows the bit. No, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not gonna do it. I did want to talk today to you fine people out there, the 10 of you, and 10 is solid. 10 is a solid number. That is a good representative of the population, I suppose, of the people who would be in a paying audience to see me do stand-up. So I think that's completely appropriate. 10 people. 10 is a solid crowd, dude. I get jazzed up. I get jazzed up with 10 people. Are you kidding me? 3, 2, 1. I've done it to 1. That was probably the saddest thing. Done it to 1. I mean, worse than 1 is just, 0. I've done that. Whatever. And less than 0 is comics. Comics unless I could turn them, unless I could make them into regular people, turn them. Hopefully I'm doing that to you, turning you guys on to me. Hopefully I'm not turning you on. That would be weird if this was actually like a sexual thing for like, of the 10 people, maybe 1. See, I think at 10 it's hard for me to just throw out things that one of you might be doing. Like if I had 1 million listeners, I could be like, dude, I'm sure one of you has got a dungeon, right? But like a consensual one, not you're not trapping it, but you know what I mean? Like I bet one of you has a dungeon, and out of 1 million, I'm sure 1. Out of 100, it's less, but I could be like, I bet, one of you don't like getting spanked. That out of 100, I could see 1, okay, being like, yeah. Out of 10, though, it's hard. That'd be awesome if out of 10, it was just a bunch of hardcore, just like BDSM. You just all are into the same kink. Just like coincidentally, like not even. Why is this becoming sexual? It's because I said turning you guys on. I think that's why. I don't want to make this. This is not a sexual podcast. I am not a sexual figure. I have sex. I'm sexual. I do stuff. I've done stuff. I've done stuff with all kinds of. All right. I've done more. I've turned down more stuff than I've done stuff. So in that way, I guess I am somewhat sexual. I've been around sexuality. It's been offered to me. Plenty of sexuality has been offered to me, and I've said no, thank you. I'm just a vanilla. I'm a yellow vanilla motherfucker. That's really what it is. I think sexually, I'm not too. Yeah, I think maybe it's because I don't need to talk. This is not what I want to talk about. The next thing you know, it's going to be like 10 minutes, and I've talked about my personal sex life. Listen, it's 1st of April, heading into the month. This whole month is going to be quarantine month, guys. Not getting out of it by Easter. That's just a pipe dream. Hopefully out by next month, but probably not. I am speculating by my birthday, June 28th. Maybe I'll be able to go out of doors. Maybe I'll have like a bow and arrow by then and start shooting things. Not living things, but like targets. Not killing. I'm not talking about killing anything, person or animal to harvest for meat. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about maybe I'll get to finally practice shooting a goddamn bow and arrow that I took the class right before this whole thing hit. Managed to sneak in an archery class. Even there, I was kind of skeeved out, but it was outdoors. I maintained my distance. Whatever. Anyways, Corona, corona, corona. God. You know, sometimes you're just like, I just don't want to talk about this anymore, right? You're just like, it's all anybody is talking about. We talk about something else, please? God, you know? It's kind of like if I was in a village and a fire was coming and everybody was like, oh, the fire's coming. I'm just like, can you just stop talking about the fire? For 1 second, let's talk about something else. All right, so what do I want? I wanted to talk to you today about geopolitics, because last thing I talked to you, last episode, Monday, look, I have to remember now. Now that I'm doing these often, I have to remember what I did last time, instead of just doing these one-off, just like blazed out of my mind and just fucking saying whatever the fuck is going on at the moment. Well, I still am doing that, but now there has to be some kind of continuity. So last time I talked about masks, misinformation from the CDC, just the idea that the masks work from government, just governments have found, data scientists have found. There's plenty of articles out there. Just look them up. Japan, Czechia, you know, like different countries have found that the masks work. They work. For whatever reason, they do. And it's the whole misinformation, I believe, has to do with the government covering its ass about the supply chain, you know, just about the idea that we don't have the inventory because we moved all our companies overseas. That's not necessarily, let's say, the government's fault, but let's just say the point of a regulatory organization in the government, like the CDC. Let's say you have a state-run organization paid for by our money called the Center for Disease Control, where they're supposed to be on top of this stuff. Maybe one of the things they could have put in as regulation was that hospitals had to have a stockpile. I'm sure they will now, but, you know, the whole reason why the hospitals, both public and private, it's not like the government mandated it. I mean, they didn't, but they could have, and if they did, they might not have been able to affect the private hospitals, you know, but it's really because of profit, right? In the end, if you get your shit from China and you get it just in time every week, you save money. Everybody saves money, and in the name of saving money over saving lives, that's why we were in the situation we are in, and that's why the government, having bungled that, decided to tell the public in another. I'm just going for incompetence. I mean, I would love to think that it was all like planned and evil, and the evil government is like, ha ha ha, we'd planned to not have masks, but I can only wish that we had a competent, malicious government. Unfortunately, it's only competent in its maliciousness, but it is wholly incompetent in everything else, in getting there. You know what I'm saying? Like, the government does a great job of being opportunistic and then just fucking out people for being weaker, but it does nothing to actually create the, to help prevent the situations that create these crisis moments. Whoa. Anyway, none of this is funny. Anyways, so supply chain. Supply chain. You're probably hearing this a lot from me, hearing this. It's the new buzzword, social distancing, supply chain. People are talking about it. What does it mean? Well, it just means the chain of logistics to get shit to us, right? All the shit that gets to us, all the shit we need, it comes from overseas now. There's a global supply chain. A lot of that is, all this like, what is this neoliberalism? What is neoliberalism? It has nothing to do with liberal and conservative. It's not political at all. Basically has to do with the economic policies that we, the United States, and other governments have decided, like, this is the way to go, man. This is how you keep things cheap, right? You fucking don't make it local. Fucking ship everything in. It's sort of like the model of supermarkets, where we get all our goods from. Usually, most of us in cities get our goods from trucks that ship that shit in from far away. So it's just like, let's just do that on a macro global level. Have all this shit get shipped in from China or wherever's cheapest. We'll just find wherever's cheapest, and that's it. And then get, and if we can just order in massive volumes, it's worth it to save all this money to have all the shit, right? Like overall, you would think it can't cost less to make a bunch of ventilators in China and then ship them here. Can it? Then to make a ventilator in a factory that's like 50 miles away? I mean, but it is when you add in scale. When you add in, let's multiply that by 1 million or whatever, the Chinese are able to meet those demands and they offer you the lowest possible fucking price. And most countries just look the other way as to like how that's possible. It's like, what? You could do this for half? They're like, how? Nobody. I mean, they do go, wait, how? How do you do that? Oh, ooh, you fucking just a lot of cheap labor, huh? Just fucking work them to death and shit. Okay. How much? How much did you how much did you say? I say that's what it comes at. Bottom line, how much did you? All right. So the supply chain comes from mostly China. They fucking corner the market in the delivery. You know, they're like the truckers of the world now. All right. Meanwhile, here's something going on. It's very interesting. Russia, supposedly our friend, Russia, or enemy? I don't know who they are. Russia has been driving down the price of oil. You'll notice that the price of oil is. You probably notice the gas is super cheap now. Of course, nobody's fucking buying it, but gas is super cheap. A lot of that is because there's something going on between the Russians and the Saudis, where they're fighting an oil war, driving down the price of war. And so the Russians, I guess, are driving down the oil. Now, this is very interesting. Okay, people are saying, people smarter than me, people that I'm listening to, not just fucking, you know, I'm not just making this up. Essentially, this is like a bro TED Talk that I'm giving out, okay? I'm also honored to be considered a bro, considering I used to get my ass kicked by them all the time, and all I ever wanted to be was in, guys. So now I guess I'm considered a bro. No, I'm not. I'm making that up. No one thinks I'm a bro. I'm wasting time. All right. Russia driving down the price of oil. Why? To attack the dollar. Why? Because the dollar, no longer tied to gold, it's called the petrodollar around the world because the price of oil is tied to the value of the dollar. All that's tied together. Okay? Russia is driving down oil to attack the petrodollar. Now, this is very interesting. You know why? Because during the Obama years, you know what the U.S. did? We opened up fracking. We started fucking making oil. We became an oil producer instead of a total consumer. We used to be an oil consumer. We made less oil and we needed more oil, so we just needed oil from overseas. But then during the Obama years, we started to start fracking and the pipelines and all this shit and fucking, right? We started producing oil. We were selling oil. We were driving down the price of oil. Guess who makes all their money off of oil and natural gas? Russia. So that actually fucked Russia. So the Obama years were very bad for Russia economically. They got fucked because the main thing that made the money was being driven down. The price of it was being driven down. The other thing was all this other shit going on, the shit in Syria, conflict in Syria, the conflict, Turkey, the Kurdistan shit. There's like all this actually has to do with the pipeline. Okay, the Russians are building a pipeline through Syria into Central Asia and then from there into Eastern Europe and then to Europe. Okay, so basically they're building a pipeline that supplies their natural gas from Russia through, it's like Iran, through Syria, you know, it's like they have their own shit going on. Meanwhile, there's another pipeline. Guess who backs that pipeline? The EU and the US. So there's two pipelines right now, Syria, Turkey, all that shit. There's like, you know, it's like who will deliver that gas. So that's sort of the backdrop of like, you know, all this stuff we're talking. You know, you hear about Syria and Turkey and the refugee crisis and the Russians and the Turks and the economic underpinning to all of this is oil, okay, gas, whatever, energy. All right. So now that's going on. So now in a fascinating move, what Russia did is they unhooked their currency, right, from the dollar, from oil, and onto gold. They hooked it onto gold because oil, I think they had all their shit on oil because that was what was producing all the wealth in their country. Then the value of that was being driven down with the U.S., right? It's kind of a economic warfare, right? So they decided we're going to take off our currency from oil, connect it to gold because gold is one of the least manipulatable things in the world. You know, you can hoard it, you can drive the value up and down because of demand or whatever, but you can't, you just can't fuck with it like you can oil or just say like a currency like the dollar, right? So Russia's on gold, okay? Meanwhile, China also is the number one hoarder of gold in the world. Isn't that interesting? Russia and China both getting frisky with gold, right? That's a sign to a lot of economists, again, people way smarter than me, that it's a big move away from the dollar as the global currency. So right now the dollar is the global currency, right? The dollar is like the safest thing you can put your money in because it's the dollar. It's not going anywhere, right? That's how people feel. Meanwhile, you may remember that we just had about something like $6 trillion of stimulus and more coming. And the Fed has said that they're just going to print money, man. They're going to print money. Quantitative easing infinity, right? To infinity and beyond. Money printer go burr, all that stuff. That's what's happening. So inevitably the dollar will decline in value because they're just adding way more dollars into the market. Where is it coming from? It's coming from our taxpayer. It's coming from the taxes that we're going to pay in the future generations. It's going to be coming from us having to foot the bill. Anyways, let's move on from that. I mean, we're footing the bill now. We're gonna die. We're gonna die off. We're gonna starve off the weaker ones, the less secure physically, mentally. You know, it's a real separating the wheat from the chaff moment, real survival moment here. I mean, on top of the virus, that's literally a survival thing, killing off the weak. There's also an economic thing going on at the same time. All these factors converging. So China is, yes, so number one, they got the supply chain. Number two, they're hoarding gold. But number three, they're devaluing their currency to fight the trade war that our dear leader Donald Trump started, okay? So here's the thing about the trade war. What does the trade war do? Trade war, in essence, honestly, I don't think is as retarded as people think. Probably one of the only things he's done right. Maybe. We'll see. Because part of it was the concern of the supply chain. So Trump, Bannon, these guys have been going on and on about supply chain forever. Okay, supply chain, and this is now the moment where they're like, see, we fuck it. Okay, so that's why a lot of companies, because of these tariffs and all the stuff that we did, we made it harder for certain businesses to do business in China. They start coming over here, especially manufacturing, things like that. So that was already in motion before this pandemic thing happened. So that, kind of had a little head start on that, but now I think it's going to be happening in droves, okay? Not going to be cool to do all your shit in China, especially post-pandemic, right? So what's China doing, right? What does that mean? That means Chinese goods are going up in price, and that U.S. people around the world won't buy them as much because that was the whole point of buying. The whole point of Chinese goods is that they're cheap. You take away cheap, then it's not like they're the best quality. I mean, the only thing I guess if the Chinese pivot to quality, that would be interesting. That would be very interesting if the Chinese decided, you know what? Fuck quantity, we're going to go for quality. I edited a movie out in Shanghai, little aside, not to brag, no big deal, state-funded movie or whatever. Got some money, I got stacks of cash to pay, not a lot. I got money to live in Shanghai for free for about 2 months, and I was in the outskirts, in the city, in the suburbs. So got to get a sense of Chinese culture, at least Shanghai culture, in the sense of how big China was and how different Shanghai was from the rest of China and all of that. Okay? A lot of sense of China. One of the things I realized is that this is while editing, I kept, my fucking cables kept breaking. Firewire cable kept breaking, okay? Firewire cable keeps breaking, and I'm like, okay, I have to keep asking for one almost like every couple days. So then I finally ask the producer guy, I'm like, hey, can you just get me like one really good cable? Because this never happens in the US. I had tons of firewire cables, and they don't break. They just last forever. So I have tons of them. Can you just get? And they're like, no, we can get you 100 shitty cables, but we can't get you one good cable. So that's really what the Chinese economy has been, right? And the just sort of the philosophy of how to get out of poverty. It's just make as much shit as possible, make it cheap, fucking corner the market that way. China might pivot and be like, you know what, we're going to be like the Japanese or the Koreans and start going for quality. They could do that. They might do that. We'll never know. Anyways, what's China doing? They're devaluing their currency. They're devaluing their currency to drive prices down. So Chinese prices going up because of tariffs. Chinese government devalues their currency, prices to go down. Boom. Shit's still cheap, motherfucker. So they're devaluing their currency. They're devaluing their currency at the same time they're hoarding gold. Interesting, right? So the people are thinking they're doing one of two things, or maybe even both. Perhaps they're trying to get the renminbi, that's the Chinese currency. Perhaps they're getting the RMB to replace the US dollar. Perhaps that's their move. Perhaps what they want to do is flood the market with cheap RMBs, get them all out there and have people start using that. Maybe. The other thing is that maybe what they're going to do is they're going to devalue their currency and then uncouple it, right, from the central banking system and put it back onto gold. Plus, they also have crypto. They're all over the crypto, man. I mean, most of the crypto mines are in China. They own most of the Bitcoin. So there's a whole other thing. There's a move to maybe get away from the central banking, the international bank, or step away from the petrodollar and onto this new kind of it's like a standard the IMF has. I got to read more about it, but that's like it's a separate international standard that everybody's kind of coupling their money to. So that's a possibility as well. It's basically a move away from the U.S. as the main currency of the world, and alternate currencies are being explored, at least by the other major powers. That's what it looks like, you know. What do I know about all this? I don't know. This is stuff I'm just saying that you know, that I heard, that I've been reading, listening to, and kind of putting all this stuff into context. Like, why is oil so cheap? What's all this shit going on with Russia and China and whatever, right? So isn't that interesting? So it's like China's looking to make the RMB a reserve currency, possibly. Meanwhile, Russia is hooking their currency up to gold. Meanwhile, China is hoarding gold. Interesting, right? Why does any of this matter? Why does any of this matter? I don't know. I don't know why it matters. I guess in some ways it's because I'm getting more interested in economics, finance, things that I thought were just so gay, things that I just thought were so lame, you know? A lot of that, like I mentioned, was because I had a bad dad. Right? It wasn't rich dad, poor dad. It was no dad. So, you know, that's probably why. But now that I'm as old as my dad was when he should have been there for me, I started realizing that this stuff it matters in the sense that I don't want to be its bitch anymore. I don't want to be money's bitch, dude. Fuck that. I don't also want to be a slave to money, and money isn't everything. But I also don't want to be, you know, I neither want to be beholden to it, nor enslaved, or enamored by it. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to use it as a tool, and that's it. And to understand it, not be all emotional, right? Let's remove the emotion. And I realized a lot of my emotion attached to money had to do with dear old dad, you know? So so now I have become a complete psychopath, sociopath. I'm a complete sociopath now. I have no feelings or emotions about my family, and it's all numbers. Look, I'm just saying, look, why does any of this stuff matter? I think it's that the idea of stocks. Look at the stonks. Stonks, man. What's up with the stonks? Stonks are going down. They're going up. They're going down. They're going up. They're going down. What the fuck is going on with the stonks? The stocks, listen, stocks and currency are manipulated. There you go. I think that's the number one thing. Stocks and currency are manipulated. Stocks are manipulated by governments. They're manipulated by businesses. The stats are juked at times and whatever. Market might have false confidence. A lot of it is false confidence. A lot of it is a measure of confidence, and then the drop in confidence and up and down. So there is a form of irrationality and rationality. Part of the thing that I'm learning about markets, all of them, currency market, stock market, whatever, commodities, crypto, whatever, all these things people buy and sell. There are principles that seem to be universal in them because the underlying nature of all of it is mass psychology. It's the mass psychology of buying and selling, right? Mass psychology of fear and confidence. Like, it's just a lot of it is psychological. That's why a lot of these you look at technical analysis or whatever, these things that show you the charts. And you're looking at the charts and like, what do the charts mean? Does the chart mean this? A lot of that is because these sort of behaviors that can be tracked over time and there are consistencies in them. And I got the fucking Fibonacci sequence in there, and all of it could just be bullshit, like all of it, like Elliott wave theory. I'm learning about all this fucking shit. And on some level, it's like, okay, I get it. Yeah. But on another level, understanding that everything is probabilities, it's like, it's as much as you can do to guess well. You know what I mean? It's still a form of guessing. It's not total gambling where you're just like, just putting a money in the machine and pushing the switch. I mean, then you'll lose your money for sure. There are ways to make money because people do it all the time. You just got to learn and understand when the right time is to get in, get out, and how to operate as a fucking little fish. So that's one of the things. So it helps. All this shit helps me realize stocks, currency are manipulated, but that also I need to understand what that is, what that means, and not be beholden to that. Not just be some, just consumer left behind where my dollars are going to become worthless. I'm not going to be able to buy anything. I'm not going to be able to do shit, right? And just, and all of us should think about that too, right? That's worth thinking about, especially in this time where survival, is a thing. Survival is a real thing. And honestly, it's not like most healthy people are going to be affected. It's not anything to do with that, right? It's not anything to do. It's about new realities coming to the fore, paradigm shifts. Look, we're finally entering the 21st century, global century, right? And this is it. This is all part of it. This is all we did it. We tried to make money off of it, and now we're getting sick off of it, and we're going to figure out what to do next, right? And that's transitional time, right? And I think it's a great time to learn about a lot of shit that's going down because motherfuckers are going to use this time to make money or just there's a lot of opportunism bound. There's a lot of panicking. There's a lot of behavior, interesting human psychology going on. And I think it's a good time to learn. So, I don't know. I guess that's it. I think I guess that's it. I mean, so yeah, I've been learning about the markets. I have not invested. I don't have any money, so I'm not putting any money into anything. But I'm learning. I'm learning about just mass psychology, human behavior, panicking, fucking learning the forex markets. I am trading on a simulated account. I'm just fake trading, trying to fucking, that way at least I'm not losing nothing. I'm kind of using this pandemic time, so I'm giving myself 3 months, pandemic time, to learn some of this shit. And maybe, I could do comedy at night and do this in the day, and then that's fucking make a couple $100 a day, and that's all I care about. Boom. Couple hundred. I mean, that's really low in terms of my goals and needs. That's all I need. So maybe I'll do that. Maybe I can end up making a couple $100 off this podcast. I don't know. Maybe I'll spend a couple $100 a day on this podcast. Maybe I need to buy and sell stocks to make sure I can have enough data for this podcast to do 2-hour daily broadcast. 2-hour daily broadcast where you can see me lose money live. You can see me yell at a computer screen. Really by proxy, my father. You can see me work out all my personal issues with my dad through the markets and crushing losses, but possibly ecstatic gains, highs and lows, bipolarism. Okay, this might not be good for somebody who's prone to mania, but you know what? I don't care. Okay, I'm not. It's none of it's real. I'm not playing with any real money. All right. Anyway. Can you make money in this climate? Is this climate? I mean, we're just sitting around waiting for government checks. $1,200. That's all we get, right? What are we gonna do with that, right? Thank you, government, for making sure that I can't make rent. Thank you. It's April 1st. I can barely make it. Next month, I don't know. Who knows? And that's where we're all at. It's like let the chips fall where they may. So that's what I'm saying. Listen, in an instance where life is a gamble, the house always wins. You know what I'm saying? The house always wins. But that doesn't mean there is an opportunity. That doesn't mean you can dip your feet in, make a little something, and then dip out before the house comes crumbling down, right? And definitely I'm not saying buy anything. Don't take any advice from me. Thank God there's only 10 people. Like I was saying in the beginning, if there was 1 million of you and like 100 of you took my advice, you probably would be destitute. Those are 100 new homeless people. I have added 100 homeless people to the growing number of homeless people in this country, and that's, I can't live with myself. If I could only just encourage them to make masks or something, do something useful. But alas, I don't even have that amount of people listening. Thankfully, I have 10. I feel like out of the 10 of you, I know one of you is good with stonks, right? Koji, you're out there. I know one of you's out there. One of you is either a couple of you are like have tuned out this entire time, don't care about geopolitics or money or anything. So they're like, I don't know what he's talking about, and I just I'm good. Just give me the numbers. I don't mind. Listen, if you've made it, this is minute 29, almost 30. If you've made it this far, and you really don't enjoy this, please don't keep listening, but keep up the subscription. At least give me that. Give me the number. I mean, not like it means anything. I'm not getting ad money. Nobody's giving me anything. It's just, I guess, it means something to me. It means that if you need to make a fake account and juke my stats, please do it before I do. That's really what I'm saying. It's like, let me tell you something. I'm at a crossroads in my life, right? I see myself, there's 2 timelines before me, depending on the decisions I make, the choices I make. And that is either to subscribe to TikTok or the Wall Street Journal. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, I don't know why I can't do both. Why can't I be the Wall Street Journal guy on TikTok? I don't know. Why can't I be, I'm the money man on TikTok, giving you your money news in 10, 15 seconds. Buy, stocks, buy. And then it's over. Buy, crypto, sell, buy. And then it's, that would be or it's like a little Drake. And then I hold up a little sign that's like, buy Amazon or whatever. I could be like the Jim Cramer of TikTok. I could be the Jim Cramer, Mad Money of TikTok, man. I could do, no. God damn it. Anyways, I was just saying I'm at a crossroads in my life between subscribing to TikTok or the Wall Street Journal, and that's where I'm at. And, I'm a middle-aged guy. I have no place on TikTok. I'm not going to join TikTok. I don't need to be relevant to the kids and that. This is not, I'm lame. So I better get into lame things. Okay? Because now I'm not fucking 20 anymore, and I can't just survive by being young. That used to be a thing. Remember? Some of you are young. Some of you are not. Out of the 10, I'm sure. I'm sure out of the 10, most of you are middle-aged. I feel like that's my audience. It's a bunch of middle-aged fograms. But you got it. This is when the smarts come in. You gotta start using your brain. You know what I'm saying? You can't just be fucking. That was awesome. God, that was awesome, wasn't it? You can't do that always. Can't eat those double cheeseburgers all the time, as much as I love them. You know what I mean? It's just not, gotta be smart. All right. So, here we are. I guess we're at the end of the ride. I talked about the geopolitics. I talked about it, okay? I talked about what I think is, not what I think. What I think I read is more accurate. I'm talking about what I think I read by things smarter people than me said, and in podcasts and whatever. Smarter people than I have said stuff, and from what they've said, this is what I've gathered. Okay, supply chain, China, got to do something. Russia driving down oil, attacking the petrodollar. China devaluing currency to fight the trade war, like lowering prices. Also trying to make the RMB reserve currency of the world, perhaps, or at least their part of the world, because they're making that new Silk Road or whatever, that road through fucking Eurasia. Probably going to spread RMBs all through there while building that shit. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, Russia is hooking their currency up to gold, right? Okay. Other thing, China's buying all the gold, right? What does all this matter? Meanwhile, the U.S. is just pumping dollars into the world economy. Meanwhile, the world economy for the short term is like, okay, everything's crazy. Guess we got to go to the dollar or gold. I feel that's the real thing. Dollar or gold. Hearing smarter people than me being like, be long on gold in RMB terms. What the fuck does that mean? I don't know. Koji probably does. I don't know though. I don't know what the fuck that means. But I am looking up things. I'm looking at currencies backed in gold versus like the Hong Kong dollar or whatever. I'm looking at things that I don't understand. But at least I have the time, and at least I'm not going on TikTok. I think that's the bottom line. Me getting interested in the markets and all this lame stuff, the fucking Square lame shit that my dad was into, that I was like, fuck you, Dad, I don't care, I'm taking out loans from the government, I'm never paying them back, I don't give a fuck. Instead of doing that, I am, just like Russia's unhooking, their money from petroleum, I am unhooking my emotions from money and learning more about it. Or just trading, whatever, and not going on TikTok. And that is the main lesson here, that I think I'm doing okay because I'm not creating a TikTok account and begging you to subscribe, please, to my TikTok. Instead, I'm begging you to subscribe to this podcast, guys, begging you to subscribe. to the 10-year-old obsolete media that I'm trying to get into. Hey, I've been doing this for a while. Subscribe to this. Rojan Kimcast, you can find me on the Apple. You can find me on the Google. Find me on the Stitcher. Find me on the Spotify. Find me out there. Please subscribe or follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Facebook or whatever. Tell your friends about me, I guess. Listen, we're all bored. We ain't doing shit. Listen. Tell them about Juke My Stats. Juke My Stats. Create an account. It's all being manipulated. It doesn't matter. Just like the dollar. Juke it. Juke it. Let's make that subscription printer go brrr. Yeah, I'm relevant. Maybe I should get on TikTok. No. Again. No. Not going to get on TikTok. I've got enough platforms. You know where to find me. Thank you so much.